Okay, so August has been quite the weird month, but I did manage two big things that I had been putting off all summer, two alterations of my summer knits. So for this summer, I had a few knitting plans and I did manage to get through most of them. And one of them was the Gemma Polo by Cookie the Knitter that I'm wearing right now. I finished it and I was hesitant. I didn't know if I actually liked it or not. So I ended up wearing it for my entire Norway holiday and I found two fixable problems. One was that the bind off that I had used when I knit together, so the Kitchener stitch, I suppose, for the double knitted collar was quite sloppy. In the beginning of the collar, I didn't know how tightly to pull the yarn, so one of the sides was quite bumpy compared to the other because it took me a good 7 centimeters to realize how tightly to pull it to make a really neat edge, and that had been bothering me. So I went back and I fixed that.
Comes from the fact that her sister Nani was supposed to be there to watch her at the recital, but she never showed up. This is another change from the original movie that we're gonna get into more later, so just keep it in the back of your head, right? Obviously out of pocket, okay? Like no joke, the best character this season ever made. And what really sells all this, in my opinion, is just how adorable the animation is. The way they design the characters is maybe kind of polarizing, but just look at how cute Lilo is when she just does literally anything. Like the way she bounces around when she runs, the little mannerisms. The animation in this movie is really incredible. You can't get any of that in live action. Ah, yes, the screaming goat name has never once been fun, but here we are. So the big threat looming over our characters right now is that Nani has to make some big changes to their life, or else Lilo will be taken away into foster care.
First, I want this house clean, including laundry and fully stocked fridge. Second, pay all those bills I saw in the kitchen. And third, file for health insurance for you and Lilo. Now, if you do those three things by Friday, I might be able to.
And now you can see that the collar lays so much prettier. The other fixable problem that I found was with the sleeves, or more precisely, the cuffs, because I mean, this is just very symptomatic of me. I never wear my cuffs down to my hands. Unless I'm wearing an outer layer or a jacket, this never happens. My hand never ever gets to know the top of a cuff. They are separated. Ugh, because it's such an icky sensory thing. I much prefer having my sleeves pushed up quite a bit. And when I bound off for the sleeves, I had realized that the yarn is quite slippery. It doesn't quite hold any shape at all. So I wanted to keep a structure for the cuffs so they wouldn't get all floppy and sloppy and gross feeling, but I underestimated how tightly I made them. So what I ended up with instead was two cuffs that were too tight instead of push uppable. So I went back, I ripped out the bind off, and I actually knit a centimeter or a centimeter and a half longer because I wanted the cuffs to be a bit longer.
So my favorite video is seasonally. My favorite I know this sounds like a lot, but
and then I bound off in a more stretchy fashion. It's still not the stretchiest, but it is the amount of stretch that I was going for initially, because this is how I can push them up. And they will stay there, both sleeves. So the right sleeve, it's a bit tighter than the left one, but me being right-handed, I suppose that my right arm is a bit larger in circumference than the left one, so that doesn't bother me at all. So the two fixable problems that I found, I'm happy with. I think this will make it easier for me to wear the project. But to be honest, there are still two quite large problems. One that is fixable with a lot of work and one that just isn't. So the fixable problem is the button band. I never knit a button band, a double knitted button band before. I never knit a button band period before. And I messed up the spacing for the buttons. So between button 1 and 2, I like the spacing, but between 3 and 4, it is a bit too close here in the middle and a bit too far in the top. And I always wear the top button unbuttoned because I like this V-neck look. I never wear it completely unbuttoned, so that would make it more obvious if I were to unbutton more of the buttons. You would see that they are crooked or that they are not evenly spaced. But this is something I can live with. The thing that I don't know if I can live with is the yarn choice. So the Lana Gatto Super Soft, 100% merino, superwash, or non-felting treated. Why? Why? Why didn't I do my research? Why? I know why. Because I saw the beautiful colours and I wanted them, and I thought, hey, it's a recommended yarn. Of course the designer is going to choose the best yarn for their project. First thing, not everyone has the same preferences when it comes to yarn. Why did I forget that? And second of all, yarn recommendations can be influenced by so many different factors. The yarn can be sponsored, which makes a designer choose a sponsored one because they need to make a living. It can depend on which climate you live in, which properties you need the fibres to have. It can depend on your personal preferences when it comes to how to wash a fibre, how to care for one, what qualities you are looking for. It can be about which brands are available to you. So Cookie the Knitter, I think, is a Korean brand. So all of these different factors play into what the recommended yarn is, and I saw the pattern, I fell in love with it, and I wanted it. And I wanted it in these specific colours. I did some digging around for different yarns, and I was this close to choosing a Norwegian brand that was 100% wool, that wasn't anti-felt treated. But this is not the yarn for me, so I don't know if I can live with it. And the second project that I altered is my camisole number 4. So this is her in her final glory. This is a real banger of a project. If I was uncertain about the whole Gemma Polo thing, I am 100% sure of my camisole number 4. I really, really, really like it. I liked it before, I like it even more now. So I made this at the very beginning of the summer. This was my first ever summer knit. I have always been a winter and autumn knitter, and this summer I was like, I want a summer knit. I want a tank top. I want it to be v-necked. I want it to be white, and I want it to be ribbed. I want to be able to wear it with layers, without layers. And I found the camisole number 4. And I knit it in a single strand of Knitting for Olive pure silk in this cream colourway. Lovely colour, lovely experience. It was a bit tough on the hands, but since I'm already such a tight knitter, I think my grip strength is just used to it, so I managed without any big issues. So this alteration actually started back in Norway because I knew that I needed to focus on this. This had been a finished project and I wasn't happy with it. I knew that I could be, but I wasn't perfectly happy with it just yet. So I took it to Norway. I knit on it in the tent when we were in a camping ground. And it's a good thing that this is such a repetitive pattern because the lighting wasn't optimal, but I managed to add another 5 or so centimeters before I bound off again for the bottom hem. And then a few days ago, I had a big negotiation day at work, and I knew that I would be waiting for other people to finish their part of the negotiation, so we would have a lot of pauses during the day. And I said, you know what, I will just take this project, nothing else, because it is boring to unpick an I-cord from a patterned top of a shoulder, unpick the stitches without dropping the provisional cast on place, and then sew it back together at the proper length. So because I had already worn the camisole so much that the straps had grown, I knew where I had tied it was the perfect length. So I just counted how many stitches were outside of the tied off portion, because then I knew how much a stretched portion of the strap would be, and that's what I then used to determine how far to rip back. So I sewed everything down, I gave it a new block, and when I was blocking it again for the second time, something strange happened, because I'm fairly certain that I only used 2 balls of this yarn. So the bottom hem is the same that it's always been, the same dye lot, the same ball of yarn, but there is a distinct colour difference between the parts that I've worn for the summer and the new parts. So this yarn doesn't hold up well in colour, or this non-dyed colour at all, if I can tell a difference from 2 months. Anyway, that is probably something that will fix itself. Give me a few more weeks or months and I'm sure to have lived in it enough to even out the colour difference. But I did find it a bit interesting because I haven't washed it in the washing machine with anything else. Or have I? So I don't know how the uniform discoloration would come about between the old hem and the new one. Anyway, it's still the same-ish colour, and it's now longer so I can tuck it into my jeans. As the high-waisted millennial I am, you will not be seeing me in any low-rises ever. So this makes it a lot more comfortable for the transitional weather because I can now layer it without getting a cold midriff. In the summer, it was fine with having it being shorter, but now I'm very happy to have it long enough to be secure and also more work appropriate. As for the silhouette, I was a bit worried about shortening the straps because I thought that it would affect the V-neck too much. I thought it would rise up and be too thick in the straps, but I actually prefer this look to the old one because I still have this distinct V shape, but since it goes a bit higher, it accentuates a line that I find flattering. When it was riding lower, not only was it a bit too low cut for my personal preferences, it also made my shoulders look wider than I like them to look. I'm all for different proportions and different looks that accentuate different parts of different bodies. So this was a very happy coincidence that the alteration actually made it better than the original and better than I had dared hope for. So those are my 2 August alterations. One that I'm very happy with, the cami, I can wear without any hesitation and I will be wearing it all year round. It is incredibly light, it's very soft, it's very flattering, and it now feels quite secure. So when I was wearing it with the loops up here, I felt a bit, oh, will it fall down? Oh, how stable is it? And now I feel secure, tucked in, comfortable, not having to fuss and tug at anything. The Gemma Polo, the jury's still out on. I like the colour, I like the look, I like the boxy fit. I now like the collar and the cuffs a lot better, but the fabric might be a deal breaker. You live and you learn, and I had fun knitting it at least, and I learned a new thing or two, which is at least one good thing, even if I didn't love the outcome. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you want to, please click subscribe so you don't miss my future uploads. And if you found the video entertaining, or if you want to encourage me in this very non-procrastinatory habit of now redoing things I was unsatisfied with in my old projects, go ahead and click the like button and I will get a tiny hit of dopamine for my troubles. Take care and I will see you next time.